Hey, everybody, welcome back to our continuing coverage of Baltimore Comic-Con right here. It's day 3, and this is the moment you guys have all been waiting for. I'm going to bring on Mr. John Suntress. John, I know this is the panel you have been waiting for the entire weekend. It is by far the most excitingly fun, amazing panel. You got Susan Eisenberg, George Newbern. I want to give you the entire hour. I know Mark Waid's insanely excited about this, so I'm going to cut loose. Man, I'm so stoked about this panel. So you go at it, man. I'll see you in a little bit.
I understand. Poor Chuck is wiped, and that's all right. Luckily I got a nap in. It's good to see everybody. John Suntress here from Word Balloon, and as Chuck said, we're all very excited to present Kingdom Come: Voiceover Playhouse, a very special presentation of the epic story that will be celebrating its 25th anniversary next year. I want to start off and bring in the writer of this incredible book. He and Alex Ross made an amazing graphic novel. And welcome Mark Waid, everybody. Good to see you, Mark.
Good evening, John. How are you?
I'm doing great. Congratulations. Tremendous conversation with Tom Brevoort.
Oh, that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
Really, really great stuff. Let's also bring in the person that I brainstormed with and said, we got to get a good Superman, Wonder Woman scene. What can we do? And we're like, Kingdom Come. And that was Wonder Woman herself, the animated Amazon. It's Susan Eisenberg. Welcome, Susan.
Hello.
Good to see you. And last but certainly not least, it's the man of tomorrow himself, Krypton's favorite son, George Newbern. Everybody say hello to George.
Hello, everybody. My name is George. Sorry, that's it.
I was going to say, it looked like, there's Mark. Mark's back.
Thought I'd give you a little
I liked it, man. That's fantastic.
I liked it. Yeah,
so,
good.
And guys, thanks again. You were at the last Mainframe Comic-Con event with the rest of the Justice League, and Andrea Romano gave us a high-powered read of some classic scenes. And now we visit some incredibly classic graphic novel scenes, courtesy of Mark Waid and Alex Ross.
Hey, Mark.
Yeah, good evening. I'm very flattered and very honored that the two of you have joined on here.
Of course.
Before we start, Mark, Before we start, Mark, a little background on this story, both behind the scenes and also framing what we're about to hear. So where I know that it started with Alex writing a treatment.
Right. Basically, for those who don't know, Kingdom Come graphic novel from we've hit our 30th anniversary now, haven't we, John?
25 next year. Yeah, 1996 is when it came out.
Time has no meaning anymore, and it's the story of what happens when Superman retires, and 10 years later he's had to be brought back out of retirement because the young heroes who have come along after him without his inspiration, without his guidance, have just turned the whole world into a big WWE wrestling match, and it's just chaos everywhere. And Superman has to get together with his old comrades and sort of put the world back together before it just goes completely off the rails. And that was Alex's basic idea. Alex Ross, the painter, and he came to DC with a basic treatment and a lot of sketches, a lot of neat notions, but he wasn't a writer by his own admission. So who do you got who knows absolutely everything about DC Comics ever? Well, there's only one guy. It's Mark Waid, is what I was told. So I got dragged in, and I was unsure. I didn't know what I could bring to the table. But as we sat there at lunch with Archie Goodwin, who is the initial editor, and Dan Raspler, who is the other editor, it sort of came together. Alex and I started, feeling a bond with each other. We're about 10 years apart in age, but we still grew up reading and loving the same sort of stuff, the 1970s DC Comics, and that's our era. And we're such big fans of it that, as I have said many times, Alex and I are the only two people in the world who are going to have a 45-minute argument about the Martian Manhunter.
That's why we love reading your guys' books. Absolutely, both of you, Ross and Waid. Absolutely, man.
So putting it all together was, it was about a 2-year trip, I guess. It took us about, a few months up front just to get the story locked in, and then Alex paints with a stern pace of 10 pages a month. So 180 pages, 18 months, right down, and I will never forget. Everything was going swimmingly with the scripting. Everything was going great for the first, second, third issue, because nobody had seen it yet. Mm. And before I got the chance to write the fourth one, the first one had come out, and it was mostly because of Alex, a gigantic sensation. It was just a huge thing. And suddenly I sat down at the keyboard and, the figurative, I open my mouth and a feather comes out. There's nothing there. I got stage fright. And it took me, with Alex's help, as long to write that fourth one as it did to write everything else because of the stage fright. But I think in the end, it came together pretty well.
Absolutely, man. And the great thing is we literally are taking scenes from, I believe, all 4 chapters.
I believe all 4, yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's great. And we really kept the heavy drama. You won't see a happy ending in this table read. Not to spoil for those who don't know.
Spoiler!
Exactly.
Yeah.
But it really, and especially George, Susan, for you to play these characters at such a great time and give us so many seasons of these characters. First of all, you didn't get a lot of scenes together as Wonder Woman and Superman, correct?
No, and not where we could actually just chat, like where it was more than just a line here and a line there. I mean, anytime you had a conversation with somebody, it was a treat. So this, beyond. I told you privately that when I was trying to immerse myself in this world, in this universe, when I started talking more with the fans and trying to educate myself about DC and this world, the one thing I was told over and over again was you have to read Kingdom Come. And that's where you start. Everything else follows after that. And so to be able to, and I wrote this to Mark, and to be able to read his words and say his words and give voice to his words is such an honor. And I'm just giddy. I'm nervous, but I'm giddy.
You were incredibly kind, as are the people you spoke to. I will also say, at the risk of this sounding like a mutual flattery session, as someone who has lived with these characters since he was about 5 years old, both of you are exemplary. I mean, both of you really do a nice job of embodying what the characters sound like to me, what they feel like to me. And I think I'm a fan of both your work on this stuff.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
For sure.
And truly excited
John,
to
we're a fan of yours too.
Thank you, John.
John, we adore you.
Yeah,
too.
John. Yeah, we love you, John. Yeah.
Well, you're very kind. That's very lovely. And we've assembled the league. It looks like we've got a good audience. Shall we start, everybody?
Let's do it.
All right.
Yeah.
You'll forgive me. I am in the union, I'd like to point out, but I will take care of the reporter.
You will be the reporter comments.
Oh,
Okay.
you're going to be the
Yes.
reporter. Okay.
Okay.
Reporter being played by John.
Well,
okay, good.
I was a CBS News reporter for several years here in Chicago, so I'm no Clark Kent.
No,
But,
John.
you know.
John and I have our radio background. Yep.
So,
All right.
yeah, if we're ready, by all means, let's begin.
Let's raise the curtain. Okay. Scene 1: the Kent farm in Smallville, Kansas. A tentative Wonder Woman approaches a non-costumed, graying Superman. He is out of uniform, in overalls, lifting a tractor with one hand and carrying wood in the other. He hasn't been in costume in 10 years.
Hello, Clark.
Ugh.
Hello, Cal.
Diana, haven't seen you in months. What brings you to the farm?
The vain hope that you're not still here.
These are my roots.
You can't live forever in solitude,
I'm Superman. I can do anything.
except apparently face your fear.
I'm not afraid of him.
I didn't mean him. I meant Cal. You've lost so much since I first met you.
Earthlings die, Diana. You know that.
Please, Cal. They were your parents and she was your wife. Don't call them earthlings.
I have work to do, Diana. Here, things grow.
Listen to me, damn it. I've come with news from the outside, bad news. It's shaken the world. Cal, he's out of control.
I tried to tell them that 10 years ago.
And they didn't listen, I know. Stop punishing them.
I'm not interested.
I see. Do you live in nothing but lies? Here are 2 words. See if they sound familiar. Truth. Justice. You can't have completely forgotten them.
Ugh.
Just see for yourself what he has let happen to the world. That's all I ask. and steel yourself.
Viewer on.
Out of thin air, multiple screens appear with news flashes depicting a nuclear disaster in the Midwest, one caused by the Justice Battalion led by the him Wonder Woman was referring to, anti-hero Magog.
Viewer off.
Cal, please. Our generation takes its lead from you. We always have. You must face this. If you don't, neither will the rest of us, and it will just go on.
You're wasting your breath. There's nothing I can do from here. Go back to your island, Diana. You're safe here. You're safe there.
A disappointed Wonder Woman flies away. Scene 2. After their conversation, Superman begins to pay more attention to current events. More reckless battles between immature heroes and villains cause more damage and destruction. The carnage forces Superman back into costume and action. The old Justice League reforms under his and Wonder Woman's leadership. They hold a press conference to explain their strategy to correct the world's issues.
Good afternoon. Many of you may remember us. We've been away for a while. That was our mistake. In our absence, a new breed of metahumans has arisen, a vast phalanx of self-styled heroes, unwilling to preserve life or defend the defenseless, a legion of vigilantes who have perverted their great powers, who have forsworn the responsibilities due them. We have returned to teach them the meaning of truth and justice. Together, we will guide this new breed with wisdom and, if necessary, with force. Above all, we will restore order. We will make things right again.
Will there be others?
Our ranks will grow.
Are you prepared to shut down those who don't honor your principles?
I don't anticipate anyone acting without our sanction.
Anyone? Would that include Magog, Superman? Are you truly prepared to confront Magog in light of what he's done and gone on before?
Magog will be dealt with if he surfaces. Given the consequences of his actions in Kansas, that seems unlikely. Thank you. Thank you for coming. That is all.
The Justice League flies away, leaving in their wake more questions than answers, and a mumbly reporter. All right. Ready? Scene 3. The Justice League Watchtower on the moon. Superman and Wonder Woman sit amidst the vacuum of space. They look down on the Earth, as only gods can, and talk about the past.
So then I flew him up to about here, and I said, "Do you see that beautiful blue marble, Brainiac? That's my world. Return it now."
Did he hear you?
Actually, not in airless space, no, but believe me, he got the message. NORAD was back online within 5 minutes.
So did you destroy him?
Just short of it. Buried some of his circuitry on Saturn, some on Argo, and the rest inside a Pulitzer in Clark's apartment.
Okay, that's great. You never told me that story before. Gods, those were better days.
Easier days, anyway. Diana, what's this about being ousted by your own people? When did this happen?
Shortly after you went into seclusion. For years, I had been the Amazon's ambassador to the outside world. My mission was to spread a message of peace and order. As the world continued to darken, there was some doubt as to how well I had done my job. My Amazon sisters, my own mother, came to suggest that perhaps I had failed. They actually put me on trial. I pled my case, but in the end, they decreed that I had indeed not changed man's world, that it had changed me. They stripped me of my royalty and my heritage. There may have been some justice to their decision.
Do you believe that?
The Amazons believe in peace through strength. Too often I relied on an olive branch and not a cestus.
I always admired your gentility.
It didn't get the job done.
You did your best.
Then why isn't the world better?
There are degrees.
How many degrees were you interested in hearing about when you retired? You said it yourself, Cal. We are warriors. We have an obligation to wage combat.
Given who we are, Diana, given the power we possess, we have a greater obligation to keep the peace. Only the weak succumb to brutality.
Clark flies away, leaving Diana to contemplate his words and wonder why they didn't see things the same way. Scene 4. The situation on Earth has erupted in chaos. There are riots in the streets. Supervillains once captured by the Justice League have seized control over their warders. Wonder Woman has seen enough and, against Superman's wishes, is mobilizing the elder Justice Leaguers to war. She is donning Amazonian armor, complete with a shield and a sword.
Yet another side of you I am not comfortable with.
Get used to this one. A soldier unprepared has no business calling herself a soldier.
More Amazonian wisdom? Isn't it possible that we've already won the big fight? Once we calm the rioters down, we can instill... Ow!
Clark cuts his finger on the sharp blade of Diana's magic sword.
You always were a bit vulnerable to magic. Be careful. The sword has a gift. The sword was a gift from Artemis. It can carve the electrons off an atom.
And you expect to use it?
I expect to be a soldier.
I will not sanction lethal force against the rioters. I'm uneasy with the blade.
Not all of us have heat vision.
There are lines we do not cross. We have rules.
And the prisoners don't. That's why they're prisoners. And if they don't remain prisoners, your big blue marble teeters on the brink. You made the decision to incarcerate them for the good of mankind, remember?
Maybe that was my mistake. Maybe I shouldn't have let the humans decide.
No. Your world finally turned completely topsy-turvy. How do we handle this?
I don't know.
Then I do. We're going to confront the prisoners and give them an ultimatum. They must surrender.
And if they refuse?
Then it's war.
But can you have a war without people dying?
A disgusted Diana glares at Clark, then approaches him. Her lips brush his with the sound of marble scraping steel. It is a kiss utterly devoid of passion. It is a last farewell. The League flies off to their final battle without Superman. And there you go. Spoilers.
And
He
Wait
shows up. Yeah, he shows up. Well done. Well done, guys.
Fun.
Thank you.
That was
Thank you.
fantastic, guys. It's so great.
Thank you.
No, I appreciate it. There, as I've said to Susan and George and John in emails, there is, when you're writing dialogue for the page, yes, you want it to sound natural, and yes, to some degree, you'll read some of it out loud to yourself as you type to make sure it kind of sounds natural. But it's not quite the same as writing for voice acting.
Right.
And so there are a couple of those places where both of you had a little bit of a mouthful, and I'm sorry about that. But
hey man, that's that comes with the territory, and I didn't notice it, by the way. But if it's there, you take it in and you navigate. If it
you navigate beautifully. Yeah.
Well, and I have to say, when I read it, I mean, there were a couple of words I tripped over, but that's just my thing, not the words. And I have to say, when we read it, and it feels very natural to read it as dialogue. So I know that wasn't your intention when you started to write it to be read and performed by voice actors, but it flows really easily as an actor, as opposed to a lot of things you read as an actor that don't flow so easily. So thank you for that.
No, that's very nice of you to say. I know I had an experience once where I wrote, somebody else had doing an audio adaptation of a comic book that I wrote, and I realized that I had written about 50 words in every sentence with a lot of commas. And so it was not a single sentence that actor could say in one breath. So we made our way around it.
And George, honestly, I was really excited to see both of you do this because, again, it's such a different version. I mean, even things like the Justice Lords, someone mentioned that in the chat. I mean, this really, in that case, it's this alternate universe Superman. Mm-hmm. To me, this is canon. I know it's not, it's an Elseworlds technically, but it's so great to see Superman this far down the road and frankly burnt out. And everything he believed in, he questions now.
Absolutely. I narrated a an unauthorized Superman biography about, I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago. And I learned so much that I didn't know about the history of Superman, about the guys that started and all the different iterations of, through the silver era of Superman and up till today. And it's amazing the life of Superman and how he's been able to just keeps on keeping on. No matter what, even if he's retired, he's coming back. Right.
Well, George, there's something you bring to the role that I appreciate, and that is that it's, to my mind, there is a humility to Superman. That Superman is the last person in the world to call himself Superman.
Right.
He wouldn't give himself that name.
No.
And that, in fact, is sort of the crux of the story, is that when Superman retired in this story, he didn't expect everyone else to retire after him because he's just another, one of their peers. But if you're Green Lantern, if you're Flash, you're like, how do I get out of bed the next? If Superman can't make it work, why do I even bother?
Right. That's the difference between the DC and Marvel in some respects, that these characters are a little more cut and dry. Superman really does have there's not a lot of gray. It's good and bad and evil versus good. So yeah, I've tried to sort of hew to that, and I mean, in the character, I'm sure in my life I've got a lot of gray apparently. But oh, look what I just found! I just found something in my little studio.
There he is.
Hey.
Oh, jeez.
There you go. Get some white out to gray his temples a little bit for this.
Yeah, right, exactly.
But Mark, I'd be curious to hear your thoughts about people. So many writers. There's so much controversy about how Superman is written, and is Superman boring, and is he? I've always loved the character, and I grew up with Christopher Reeve playing the character. So to me, good isn't boring. Just because he's not a dark character doesn't mean there isn't some darkness to him, and some sadness, and some emotional baggage there. What is your take on writing the character? And do you enjoy writing Superman?
Oh dear God, it's like more than anything else in the world. When when other writers tell me, "Boy, I find Superman hard to write," I'm like, "Are you nuts? This is the easiest to fall off a log." Yeah. It's when I approach Superman, the thing that I keep most in mind is that he's alone. Right. He is of a kind. There is no one else like him in the universe, and he's the last survivor of his race. And that's something that is the tragedy of the character. That people say, he's invulnerable, nothing can hurt him, he has no problems, everything is easy. No, he lost his home world, he lost his second parents as a young man, and so now because of the nature of who he is, and because he has these powers, you have to imagine living in a world where everything is made of spun glass and everything is made out of fiberboard, and you can't just be in a pickup basketball game with your pals because you can't volunteer to help somebody move because you might sneeze when you lift their couch and you throw it to the moon, and then you've got to right. So you've always got to. That's what these are for. I
always thought that he, I don't want to be too sort of, serious about it, but he really is sort of a Christ figure in the sense that he's fully man, fully God, and conflicted. Why did you put me in this position? This was thrust upon him, and he's happy to do it, but at the same time, he is conflicted. I believe that the Christ figure was, So
But that's a perfect thing that you mentioned that, because in Kingdom Come there is so much. There's religion. There is a religious
element of that
to it.
For sure.
There's and that's mostly Alex, to tell you the truth. I am not a spiritual person. I was raised in the Deep South with snake handlers and tent revivals and all that nonsense. So when I left the church, I left the church. But Alex's father is a minister. Yeah. And he, in fact, was the model for the main character, the narrator that we see most of the story through, Norman. And we started talking about religion. We started talking about what the touchstones were. And again, not a terribly spiritual religious man, but I remember when I was a kid reading a book that was basically a YA adaptation of the Book of Revelation.
Right.
And like 13, 14, it scared the hell out of me. I remember that it was terrifying.
Pretty crazy out there. Yeah. Yeah.
And so going back to the Book of Revelation and using that as sort of a roadmap for us, you know, an informal roadmap for the story worked out really, really well.
Huh.
Where did the idea for the narrator come?
That was Alex. Alex had come off of a similar project at Marvel, where it was the Marvel universe has told through the eyes of a photographer, just a news photographer over the years, and sort of following that guy's story as he looks at the events of the Marvel universe. So Alex was well aware that it works well for him to have a very human character at the center of it, a very normal character at the center of it that can be us. And that's where that came from. So Alex is really, really
brilliant.
Yeah.
And again,
Sorry,
that's
John,
why,
I didn't mean to take over and ask a bunch of questions.
Gee, Mark, will you
I'm
talk
not the
about Superman
moderator.
for a while? My God, yeah, of course I'll talk about Superman until it's tomorrow, Susan. Come on. So
this is a great opportunity for the two of you who lived with these characters for years, and a guy like Mark who has lived with these characters for years. So I am out of the way and letting you guys talk.
No,
That's quite all right.
I'll tell you too, Susan, Wonder Woman, I didn't have a handle on until I wrote Kingdom Come, which was very strange. Because again, I loved all these characters when I was a kid. I've been reading DC Comics all my life. I know everything about DC Comics. I'm their semi-official historian. There's not a single DC character that I don't like, but Wonder Woman I never could get a handle on because it was finding, you know, being an agent of peace by going around and punching people. And I couldn't ever make that work for me. But it really wasn't until Kingdom Come forced me to drill down on that character and sort of seize that dichotomy and realize that, no, she is a warrior. She will do things that Superman will not or cannot do.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, you know, when I was doing Justice League, and I've said this many times, Andrea Romano, our director, and our casting director and our voice director, early on, she said, I think even at the callback, she said, you have to understand about Wonder Woman that she is a princess, but she's also a warrior. And so at every time, you know, in everything, you have to infuse it with both of those qualities. And when I would be too princess-like, she'd be the first one to say, no, okay, you're losing the warrior. And vice versa. So, I mean, that interesting that you use the word warrior, because that was the biggest direction I got from Andrea Romano.
Yeah, it's so easy to play Wonder Woman like Linda Carter, who was wonderful, but that's not, you know, that's all the sweet and nice parts. That's all the soft edges, and that you're able to bring some toughness to it is paramount.
And now too, with Gal Gadot, we're seeing both sides.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And truly, and that's,
she's so good.
God, yes. And also, Mark, really, I mean, this is 25 years ago. And I think the agency you gave Wonder Woman in this story and the necessary bounce, because these are the two guardians of good.
Yeah.
But at this crucial time, the Amazonian in Wonder Woman comes forth and it's like, no, this order, you know, we're pretending that, God, it's very prescient today in today's society. We think there's order, but there isn't. What do we do? Actually, not what do we do? Diana knows what to do.
Right.
Clark is the one that's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's fascinating.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Oh, you know, all right. A couple questions, and I'm, God, truly, I'm so, and also, isn't it fascinating? Because it took Mark and Alex 4 books, for prestige format comics. I don't even remember how many pages, Mark, 48 pages?
Yeah, so 180 pages altogether.
There you go. I was told there'd be no math today, but excellent. And, but yet, we blew through those scenes in 10 minutes. Yeah. And truly, that's been the fascinating thing watching these adaptations. And I know when they went to Azzarello to adapt The Killing Joke, and he did the script for the cartoon that they produced. And it was, a one-shot graphic novel, and the real essence of The Killing Joke could only be half of a 70-minute movie. Mm. And he really had to invent kind of this first act of the film to complement what was there in the original text from Alan Moore. So that's
what takes up a lot of real estate in comics does not take a lot of real estate on the stage. And Yeah, it's.
So many people today, when they knew we were going to do this, asked about an adaptation, asked about a film, done of the book, of the novel. I mean, you must have been approached a gazillion times about doing an adaptation for this.
Here's a true story. So right after this came out about 25 years ago, DC, in fact, contracted with an audiobook company to do an audio adaptation of the book. And as part of the participation, they didn't have to do this, but it was nice. They sent Alex and I all the audition tapes. Wow. And rank the character, rank the actors as you see them, like 1 through 5. And Alex and I both did this dutifully. We sent them all back. And then it turns out that every single actor that we rated as a 5, they cast as a 1. And it was a nightmare. It was well-intended people, but holy smokes, it just sounded like a golden book. It sounded like a child's book, and it was cringeworthy. So
I'll gently disagree, but okay, Mark, you're the author. God bless you, man.
It was just
too many cooks in the kitchen, man. That happens a lot.
It was tough. Yeah.
God, that's
so the audiobook is there, but what about a film?
Oh my God, I'd love to. I mean, but here's the thing. I mean, for the longest time, you couldn't do it because certain studios had options on this character, certain studios on this characters. Sure. So now that it's all back under the DC umbrella, then the next question is, can you do it animated? Well, you can't. You still can't figure out a way to do it exactly like it looks enough like Alex. Has been what we've been told over the years, that every year technology gets us closer and closer to where we can do something in animation that has that style or comes close to it. But we're not quite there yet. And then in terms of a film, oh my God, I would love that. But again, that's a $500 million film. So
I didn't realize it's so interesting you said that about the animation. Of course, like it has to look. It has to look like that. It's not just enough to have the words there. You have to make it. And so there isn't the technology to adapt that and create that?
As I have been told, unless people are just, stiff arming me and saying, go away, kid. I think
that, or likely too expensive to kind of, replicate Alex's style. I mean, Alex has that great, for people, and of course the audience knows this, but it's that great paperback cover romance novel or high science fiction style.
Well, Alex works off photographs. I mean, he actually has, and this is true, he had costumes made for these characters and hired friends he knew or, part-time actors to come in and do poses. And he worked off of that. That's why the work is so photorealistic. But again, like we've been saying, that's hard to pull off in the animated.
I know too, in the collected versions of Kingdom Come, there's so much back matter that shows Alex's sketching and character designs and a lot of those photographs. And certainly we weren't able to present him from a voiceover standpoint in this session, but Alex's art rep, Sal Abenati, another great Chicagoan, plays Captain Marvel, Shazam. And it's great because really the way Alex was able to see Captain Marvel's face in Sal's face. Right. I would never think of that. But now that and literally you see Sal smiling in that way, in that superior way that Marvel is portrayed, or I suppose Billy Batson is portrayed. Spoilers. 25 years. I don't worry about spoilers. I got to be honest with you. but truly, and it's amazing to see these actors that he found for you two, and also again Batman and all the major characters. Fascinating.
Yeah,
and it's in the book. So I'm looking here here's a question for Mark. What can you say about Michael Rosenbaum's Wally West Flash? Oh, that's great. And folks, truly, any questions for George or Susan or Mark, anything they work on is fair game.
Yeah,
it doesn't have to be Kingdom Come stuff. So great question, please.
Rosenbaum, bang on. Fan of his since Smallville. Fan of his since, and here's another true story. John, you know John Cassaday, yes?
Absolutely.
Probably the most handsome man in comics.
True.
To the irritation of all of us. And we were at a party not long after Smallville had premiered. We were at a big, convention party and music's going and everybody's holding drinks and stuff. And Rosenbaum walks in the room and it's like tossing a magnet into a box of iron filings. Every woman in the place just zoomed in on him. And I had the presence of mind to look at John and say, Now you know how we feel when you walk in the room. So, but got a chance to talk to him a few times. Smart, funny, and
sure.
really great attitude. Yeah.
He's a dream. And, you know, it's funny because when I said to him once, your manager has the easiest job in the world because you just have so much charm and so much talent. You're the easiest actor to sell because, you know, he just has something so special. And,
He does.
you know, and he is Flash. I mean, amazing.
And they never.
I know I wasn't asked, but I'm still giving my opinion about Michael.
No, but they never technically distinguish if it is Barry or Wally, but we all know it's Wally.
We all know it's Wally.
it's
Yeah.
Wally.
It sounds like Wally. Yeah. It sounds like Wally. Yeah. Yeah.
And he's the junior
no,
member
it's
of the
Wally.
team, and
Yeah.
just you know, So I love truly. Again, that's why I think all of you Justice Leaguers have this tremendous respect from all of us. Because unlike Mark's point about the Kingdom Come audiobook casting, really, Andrea really nailed it with all of you.
Yeah,
and George, I want to ask you, because, you know, Tim Daly had his run on the solo Superman animated thing.
Right.
Did you look at that? Did you study his style at all?
I got to be honest. Actors are notoriously myopic. I just went to the audition. I wasn't even aware of Tim Daly's involvement in it or lack of. It just was an audition, and I went, and I got there. Oh, this is for Superman and the Justice League. Okay, and I didn't hear anything that I was replacing him because he was too busy. I didn't hear any of that. I just went and did it, and then I went home, and then I had another audition for something else, and you got it, and then I went, oh, okay, wow, this is cool. This is a big deal. This could be a big deal. And then I'd done a TV movie with Tim Daly about 15 years ago. So we know each other, but and then I saw him in another TV show and I said, hey man, thanks for being busy. I love this job.
I think if Tim had to do it all over again, he would have made room in his schedule.
Oh, I know. Had he known, he would have never.
Yeah, he really would have.
Yeah.
George, can you tell your Christopher Reeve story?
Which one? I've got several, but
one that's like really heartfelt and when you work together.
Yes, I did it. My second movie in Los Angeles was a movie called Switching Channels, and it was a remake of His Girl Friday. You know, the old movie from the 50s or 40s, I believe it was.
40s, absolutely. Cary Grant and Rosalind Russell, yeah.
It was a sort of a not a great movie, but for me, I had a good part. I was in it all the way. I played Burt Reynolds' assistant, and I was working with Kathleen Turner and Burt Reynolds and Chris Reeve, Henry Gibson for 3 months in Canada, and I was 22, 23. So I was like, oh my God, I get to go work with Superman. You know, I'm going to get to work with Chris Reeve, and which one? The not getting the table or the Superman thing? Which was it?
Superman thing.
Superman. Because I got another. But anyway, I asked him. I said, Chris, is this? You know, obviously because he was right off the movie, and I said, does it bug you that people come up to you because they were coming up to him on the street? Superman's everywhere we went in Chicago and Toronto. I said, does it bug you that people do that? And he said, you know. At first it kind of did because, you know, I went to Juilliard and I thought, you know, I can do more than this and I should be more than this. And then, you know, I went through a period of a couple of years when I realized, wow, what an iconic thing this was. And if I do nothing else, it's an amazing thing to be known for something this classic, you know. And I just remember being, oh, wow, that was a great thing to say. And I feel the same way. It's just so odd that he died before we got to cross paths again and talk about this, but it's kind of surreal and surreal for me to get to do this. So
no, that's awesome, man. There's a great question for all of you. Chris asks, who do you believe is the most underutilized member of the main Justice League roster?
Martian Manhunter, I think.
Yeah,
Martian Manhunter.
That's what I was thinking
that
too.
jumped out at me. And you know, the thing is that Carl, I mean, you talk about perfect casting.
My God. Jeez.
And we all feel that way about him. I mean, that's the thing. He is the kindest, dearest man you will ever meet. And he's so soulful. And, you know, I mean, we all just love him so
yeah,
much.
yeah.
And he was, I mean, he had a few moments, right, to shine, but I'd say he was the most underused.
Yeah.
In terms of story.
Yeah. Well, and it's
The
tough when you have is seven members,
Yes.
right? Yeah,
Right.
I mean, my God.
And then Unlimited. And then Unlimited,
where they all had
the guest stars.
Stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Huh?
Absolutely. No. And truly, so many wonderful writers that you guys had. You know, Mark DeMatteis, J.M. DeMatteis, the adaptation of another great story, For the Man Who Has Everything.
Oh, God.
You know, God, that amazing Alan Moore, Dave Gibbons comic that you guys, again, I mean, it was just, it was so great to see that come to life. And of course, the late, great Dwayne McDuffie, who we continue to honor each year. And
even just watching the show, I was watching some old episodes today because I just wanted to,
get in the mode,
get in there, get the mojo. And, I mean, I just love all the expressions they gave us. I love all the comedy that got played, not in the line readings, but in the look of the characters. Mm-hmm. And it's just brilliant. I mean, we get a lot of attention as the actors, but boy, I mean, bravo to the writing team and to the directors in that, because that really, I mean, that made it.
Bruce Timm was he was really fine tuning everything. I remember the first time we saw that. We did the first season, and then we came. I think it's toward the end of the first season. We were at Warner Brothers studios, and they had some TV set up, and we watched an episode, and it was the first time we saw the opening credits, where they're sort of walking in slow motion toward the camera with that music. I was like, oh my God, that's really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, dynamic partners.
I've done a lot of different things in my life. TV, movies, did it, lots of little things. But when you see a cartoon and you're the guy in the middle walking in slow motion,
don't you remember at Warner Brothers, George? Don't you remember the huge poster when you went into the Warner Brothers animation studio where we recorded, and it was just this gigantic poster.
Crazy, crazy.
I mean, talk about heady. I mean, you just feel like, really part of something so special.
Yeah, and I'll go into an audition and they're like, "Hey, I'm on the outside of this building, don't you?"
Exactly.
You better give me it never worked, actually. But
I was going to say, if we were that popular, we would have had a reunion.
Right.
The great thing was the original Batman animated series was a big leap forward in animation, both in acting and design. And exactly, George, as you're describing that opening montage, we knew we were in for an event.
Oh,
and I mean, I said this during the Justice League table read the last time you guys were here for Mainframe. And truly, one of my best friends grew up as a comic book fan, got out of the habit, started watching the show, and his wife caught us watching the show together. And she's like, "Why are you watching a cartoon?" She's like, "You don't understand. This is like finally what I read for years on the screen.
That's so
this
great.
is real acting. This is real storytelling.
That's so cool.
I don't want to apologize for watching
so
this."
Cool. That's so cool. Yeah, we were very lucky. They're very lucky.
Very.
Absolutely. My God. I wanted to go back to an episode that is kind of synonymous to Kingdom Come, although again it's the alternate universe version, that Justice Lords thing. And George, I mean, that was obviously that's a Superman that did cross the line, and also got in that great cold opening before we get to the credits and stuff. That smile on his face, where he's finally gotten rid of Luthor. And it's like, actually, I feel pretty good right now. It's like, wow.
Very few times that he really gets to have that moment. It's usually on to the next thing. There's never taken a breath, honestly.
So was that fun? I mean, is that great to be able to play that flavor of the character and everything?
Always the best. Always the best. It's every actor will tell you it's best to play a villain, or not a villain, but something dark with a smile, or vice versa. It's always easier to play.
Have you seen Scandal? Did you see Scandal?
Oh yeah.
I played an assassin who got to actually have fun, which was and make jokes. Right.
Absolutely, man. No, you were fantastic, and really, it's so great. Go ahead. I was just going to say to go from Father of the Bride to, and also a lot of those roles that you had through the 90s and stuff.
I know, I'm either like the best guy or the worst guy.
Right.
Absolutely, that's the worst. Yeah.
That's outstanding, man. All right, Jimmy, the animated series was great for diversity as well, because my first experience with an African-American superhero ever was John Stewart Green Lantern, so much so that and again, much like when the Spider-Man movies were happening, but when the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern movie happened, everyone's like, where's Jon Stewart? Because millions knew Jon Stewart. And I would say generationally, Mark, you'd likely agree, as us old comic book readers and stuff, as much as we love Hal Jordan and all the other ones, television, John is the guy for millions. Who's Green Lantern.
It's been great to watch that. To you and me, it was Hal Jordan all our lives growing up, and then Jon Stewart. The fact that so many African American kids had someone that looked like them who was a superhero on the screen. That was so awesome. And I Hal, great. Hal, you stand over there. This is John's moment. Yeah.
Well, you guys are much more history buffs about all this stuff. Was that more prevalent in comics, in animation before the other media forms, with African Americans and other minorities being able to be seen as lead characters in these things? Or was that first?
Comic
your film?
Kind of. Jon Stewart had shown up a few times in the 70s, just sort of passing through, just a supporting character they check in with every once in a while. I mean, you got to remember, the audience for funny books in America in the 60s, 70s, 80s was white kids.
Predominantly,
white boys.
Yeah, Black Panther was kind of the first of the 60s that really broke through and made a mark, and certainly his involvement with the Fantastic Four and the Avengers certainly helped. But yeah, Jon Stewart was a backup Green Lantern.
Yeah,
and also the second, or no, was Guy first or John?
Guy was first or second. So he was like second lead, or second alternate.
Right, and third string quarterback, if you will.
Yeah, and so like you said, so it really, as much as anything, the cartoon show really did contribute to this idea of they don't all have to be white, guys. They don't all have to look like us, and that's great.
How many African American writers were there, to write those characters?
There weren't. That's just it. Then how many women were there to write Wonder Woman? None.
Just a handful.
There was.
You're right. None for Wonder Woman.
Which is why it took so long to get a feature. I mean, how many iterations of Batman? How many? I love. Obviously, everyone knows I love Batman, but and Superman. But I mean, my God, it took forever to get her animated, to get her, a live action film. Yeah. And the other Trinity members, some of those movies were good and some of them weren't good, but they were given another chance.
Yeah.
Whereas I don't know if Wonder Woman had not succeeded and hadn't been as extraordinary as it was, I don't know how long it would have taken to get another movie out of that.
No, I don't think there would have been a Justice League movie. I don't think there would have been anything past that. I think that would have been the Ryan Reynolds Green Lantern curse, and that would have just kind of slammed the lid down on that coffin. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I believe there is something brewing in the GL universe eventually. I'm not exactly sure what it is.
Oh, I'll tell you, it's they're HBO Max. They're doing like an ongoing miniseries or whatever.
Wow.
So it's with cinematic values, with it's done by a lot of the movie people and so forth. It's going to be done big budget, but it's like a 10 episode, like Watchmen was.
This is what it's all going to be. I don't think many people go to the movies anymore. I think it's just all going to. I think this pandemic has really changed stuff. I think
Here's a sad question for you. What's the last movie you saw in a movie theater?
I'm trying to think. Someone asked me that, and I swear I can't remember. I know that in the last year I have, but it's not.
Right.
Not much. Like maybe.
No. I want to, because honestly, that comes up a lot. I believe mine was Ad Astra, because as a SAG member, I do get screeners now for the SAG Awards. So honestly, I was kind of spoiled with everything that came late in the year. And so, and there was nothing at the beginning of the year that really intrigued me. I was ready to see Bloodshot. I was ready to see Birds of Prey in the theaters. And then COVID hit. So,
what about you?
I can't.
I mean, it's been I don't know. It's been a while.
1917. Again, 1917. That's what I saw.
Which was it?
1917.
Well, you went on a good note, because I won't name mine, but it was wretched, and so that's really disappointing.
Yeah.
But I think you're right, George. I mean, I think look at what Disney's
doing. That seemed big, whatever the James Cameron movie that decides what's the the big green guys. What's
Avatar?
Avatar.
Now that I want to see in a movie theater.
Right.
And that when it comes out, I want to see that in big. But
Nolan.
that's That's
Nolan and Tenet. I mean,
no.
everyone who saw Tenet is like, you got to
Right.
see it not only on a big screen but in IMAX to
Right.
really get the full effect.
Yeah.
No, I hear you absolutely. All right, I got to put all of you on the spot because it was an interesting, polarizing movie last year, and it certainly got acknowledged by the award people. Joker. What do we think of Joker as someone who has played in the DC universe? All of you.
You guys go first.
I thought
Did
it
you
was
see it, George?
really, yeah, it's really disturbing, but really good. I mean, really, really well done. As I don't know how I couldn't give you an analysis of how it compares to all the other iterations, but I think it was pretty damn well done. It's a pretty great piece of art, but dark and disturbing, as it would be.
Susan?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I agree with that. The artistry's there. I'm not a dark person when it comes to my comics. I know it's always existed, and I know it's there, and I know that that's always been a mainstay in terms of the book, in terms of the comics. But I think it's all gotten so dark, and I find I don't like that. I think that one of the beefs I had with Justice League was I just thought, how can kids come to this movie?
Yeah.
It just was so scary, and I thought, there's got to be some light and some, I don't know enough about Joker and Batman and all these characters that in their darkness, but I don't gravitate toward it. That's what I'll say. I prefer some good old fashioned good versus evil, with the evil not being so evil. There's enough evil in the world that I don't now that we do. I like some earnest escapism that's not going to give me nightmares.
Yeah, there's not enough of that actually. Now it used to be the mainstream. Now it's the exception. So you got to stay in the exception route anymore because everything's so dark and gray. It's good to have some that are a little lighter, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, the only yardstick you can really use to measure art is, did it achieve what it set out to succeed? Did it succeed to, achieve what it set out to achieve? And in that sense, yes, Joker did that. It was Taxi Driver. It was very Scorsese. And on an artistic level, I was blown away. The experience was really something. But man, I came out of that theater wanting a stiff drink. I really did. That was tough.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Oof. God.
There's no one to root for in that movie.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, as you said, Mark, the echoes of Taxi Driver, King of Comedy, were very clear for us old movie buffs that know those references. And
Did we
at first,
use the word old in that sentence, John?
I'm only speaking about myself, and I'm picking on Wade. I won't deny that. All right.
I know. Don't say that, John. This is every time you say that.
That's true. We're not all right. We're not old. You're absolutely right, and we're doing good. We're all doing good. But no, all I was going to say was I agreed with Mark, and also at first I didn't. I mean, as a lifelong comic book reader, I didn't agree with a lot of the choices, but I couldn't deny that the movie was sitting with me, and it was in the back. It lived in my head for weeks afterwards, and I'm like, well, then that's good art. I mean, if you're thinking about it, then they achieved something. And so, I my opinion has evolved, if you will.
Yeah.
Awesome. We only have a couple minutes left. Let's see here. I'm just seeing if there's any other interesting questions. And just a comment from Jimmy. He's getting tired of evil Superman all over media, movies, and games. What happened to hope? Well, again, in the right hands, we do get hope, and again, and in the right performances as well.
Give that to you.
Absolutely.
I've written my first
game tomorrow. I'm recording a Superman game tomorrow.
Hey, awesome. And seriously, great way to transition as we do wrap up and see what everybody's doing and anything everybody would like to plug. Susan, please start.
Oh gosh, let George start because he just started talking about.
It's a game from Warner Brothers. It says Dokken something or other. I don't know games very well, but anyway, I'm doing.
But you do a lot of them.
Well, so I'm doing a game as Superman in the Warner Brothers game tomorrow from my booth, which is the first time I've done that. So this is I do through the live thing with a real live signal, not just a Zoom call. So through Source Connect. So I've never done it.
Cool. Oh, I've done it. I like it. I may never go to another studio again.
Actually, frankly, I'm good. If you were just going to go there by yourself, I just assume do it from here. Honestly.
Yeah, no, it's pretty brilliant. So I guess the thing on my horizon is Masters of the Universe and playing Sorceress. So that's I'm excited for people to see that, and you know, and there are a couple of things on the horizon beyond that, but I can't talk about them. So, but you know, Source was a kick. That was fun. That came out of like left field. So thank you.
And
Kevin
an interesting, exactly, an interesting showrunner and Kevin Smith and an all-star cast. We've all seen the credits, and we're all waiting in anticipation on what He-Man is going, the Masters of the Universe is going to look like in those hands.
Yeah, I mean, the scripts were stunning. I mean, it was so emotional, and I didn't know much about that universe. I have to be honest. And reading the scripts, you know, they got me. They really did. The writers were just terrific. So I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Mark, a lot of rumors swirling around what might be in your plate for 2021. And I don't know how much you can or can't say.
All I can say at this point is I did write my first Superman story in 15 years. Comes out in about 5 weeks.
Wow.
It's a real short thing that it was part of a bigger crossover thing, but it's all about hope. It's all about hope. That's what it's about.
Oh, yay.
It's all about Superman showing people that there is a tomorrow.
Love it.
Wow. Wow.
Love
you know,
after what we're going through right now, we need that right now.
We'll take it.
Perhaps down the
Good
road.
timing.
And well, it's a Clark Lois story, but of course, Mark wrote an amazing short story years ago called "Forget Me Not." That I absolutely, man, my God, and it really does capture an interesting Superman. Everyone should look up the paperback, "The Further Adventures of Superman." You can find it on Amazon used. It's absolutely worth getting, and there are incredible short stories in there. And Mark's "Forget Me Not" is really one of the highlights of the book. Absolutely.
You're very kind. Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, kids, we got to run, but honestly,
thank you, guys.
Great delight. Excellent
Thank
questions,
you.
everybody. I'm sorry we couldn't get to more of them, but this was incredible.
Yeah.
And truly, you're all, and forgive me for, I don't mean to obligate you, but would love to have you all solo on Word Balloon to talk more about your amazing careers. Susan and Mark have had a lot of conversations. George, if you got time, I could think of a lot of IMDb things on there that I'd love to talk to you about. So that would be great.
Well, thank you guys. Have a good. Is it Sunday? What is today? Sunday.
Yeah, it's
Time
Sunday.
is meeting. Yeah, it's a yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. And you know, folks, I'll tell you what, we'll just take a little brief break. Maybe I'll refill my glass because we're about to have an amazing top of the hour conversation celebrating Power's 20th anniversary. An incredible book that came out of Image years ago and really blew us all away. And I think really set the tone in a lot of ways for a lot of stories that followed that. And the creators of Powers, Brian Bendis and Mike Homing will join me.
Right. All right.
So, guys, thanks again.
you.
It was lovely.
Thank you. Susan, George, thank you so much.
Nice to meet you, Mark. We'll hopefully see you in person.
Hope so.
Okay.
All right,
Take care,
guys.
everybody.
Thank you very much. And stick around, folks. More Mainframe Comic-Con coming up.